second lesson of under the course performance evaluation and management. Okay, this is the topic of today's session: purposes of performance evaluation and management. After this session, we expect from you should be able to describe and explain the management purposes of performance evaluation and management. Under the management purposes, there are two: administrative purposes and development purposes. Then the second purpose is informative purposes of performance evaluation and management. Okay. Under the first lesson, we discussed the success of performance evaluation is highly dependent on the commitment of two parties. Those parties are top managers, line managers, HR specialists, and the employees. Out of these four parties, first three parties are representing the employers. As the part of their job, they are representing the management. It means the employer. Last party, who is employees, they are representing themselves. It means the major two parties are connected in the successful performance evaluation and management. Those two parties are employers and employees. The purposes of performance evaluation are important from the point of employer as well as from the point of employees. We categorize all these parties into two groups. The purposes is also important from the these two perspectives. It means employer perspective as well as employees perspective. Yes. What do you mean by purposes? Purposes mean the reasons for which something is done. The reasons for which something is done. It means why, the purposes of something. In here, we are discussing about purposes of performance evaluation and management. It means the reasons for why the performance evaluation is done. If the employers and employees are engaging to do the performance evaluation and management, why? What are the reasons for that? Basically, these questions we can ask from the different two parties. It means from the employers as well as the second party, we can ask from the employees. The first party, why employers are worried about their employees' performance evaluation. There are some reasons for employers are worried about their employees' performance evaluation. Firstly, from the definition of performance evaluation and management, evaluation means the collecting evidence to judge about the employee's performance. It means the basic reason for doing the performance evaluation and management, why employers are committed to do the performance evaluation and management, The basic reason is to collect evidence about the employee's performance. Then the second reason why employers are collect this evidence, it is for determine whether acceptable performance standards are being maintained or not. Employers want to know, they set the performance standards. If one employees are working with the organization, the employers are expected 100 products per day will produce by that employee. The standard level is 100 products per day. Now, at the end of the day, employers want to know these performance standards are being maintained or not. At the end of the day, the employee, how many products they will produce. They want to know about that. For that, employers are worried about their employees' performance, evaluation, and management. If the acceptable performance standards are being maintained, as our example, at the end of the day, the employee is produce 100 products. Then that data or that information can apply for their two or several decisions. In here, I mentioned two main decisions. If that employee maintains their performance standards, it means they produce 100 products at the end of the day. Then the management can decide the pay for performance, compensation. We'll discuss further in few next few slides. The second reason, if the employee is maintenance, they are acceptable performance standards, then they decide the development opportunities. It means the promotions. If the acceptable performance are not being maintained, it means the employee cannot produce 100 products per day. The employee was produced only 80 products at the end of the day. It means then the management will further investigate about the reasons for that. Then they can identify the several reasons. Some reasons may be with the job. The job is more complex. Employee cannot perform as we expect. Then the management can simplify their jobs. The reasons with the employee, then the management can train workers. Why employee only can produce 80 products per day? Because lack of their knowledge, skills, and attitudes about the organizational production process. Then some employees, they know how to produce and they can, but they are not willing to do that. They are not actively engaged to do that, to produce the 100 products per day. Then what management can do? It means lack of motivation of the employee. Then the management can motivate workers. Some employees cannot get the correct pay. Then the employer can decide dismiss or terminate the poor performer employee. Likewise, there are several decisions we can get based on the performance data. Then, as the second party, employees actively commitment, the real commitment of employees is also needed to do the effective performance evaluation and management. Why employees commitment? Why employees are worried about their performance evaluation? To employees, they also can, firstly, they can identify the strengths and weaknesses of their work life. To employees, they can identify their strengths and weaknesses. For that, employees are worried about their performance evaluation. The second reason, the employees need for feedback for their work. Feedback is expected from the employees also. Then they need to engage for the performance evaluation and management. These feedbacks can be used for the learning and development opportunities and the career planning, as well as some other decisions. Because this after doing effective performance evaluation and management, they are aware about their capabilities. Then they can plan for their future. Career planning and the other decisions is also can taken based on the performance data. Then the purposes of performance evaluation. During this session, you need to consider about the two main questions on each topic. The purpose of performance evaluation, as example in here, the topic is purposes of performance evaluation. What do you mean by purposes of performance evaluation is the first question. The second question is, what are the purposes of performance evaluation? Two different questions. Your answer should be different. What do you mean by purposes of performance evaluation? The purposes of performance evaluation mean what? Why performance evaluation is doing. Performance evaluation is hoped to find out answers for many problems relating to the management of people, any organizations. For that, the performance evaluation, the purposes of performance evaluation mean why, the basic reasons for performance evaluation. Basically, the organizations hope to find out the answers for many problems relating to the management of people, any organization. For that, organizations are involving. Answer for my first question, what do you mean by the performance evaluation and management? What do you mean by the purposes of performance evaluation and management is the basic reasons for performance evaluation and management. The second question, what are the purposes of performance evaluation and management? Performance evaluation serves many purposes, and it can be basically divided into two categories. According to Opathis's 2002, there are two main purposes. What are the purposes of performance evaluation? Your basic answer is management purposes and informative purposes. And we move to the management purposes and informative purposes. First one is management purposes. The same two questions I asked, what do you mean by management purposes and what are the management purposes? Answer for the first question, what are the, what do you mean by the management purposes of performance evaluation and management? Management purposes means that the performance evaluation is used for managing and developing the employees and the organization. Management purposes mean the PE, performance evaluation or performance management, is used for managing and developing the employees as well as the organization. Management purposes, the second question is, what are the management purposes? Management purposes is also can be categorized into two groups. Mainly we categorize purposes of performance evaluation and management as management purposes and informative purposes. The first one is management purposes. Management purposes mean that the performance evaluation used for managing and developing the employees and the organization. What are the management purposes? The management purposes are mainly two categories: administrative purposes and development purposes. We'll further discuss about what are the administrative purposes and development purposes. In my slide, I use the numeric way. By using that numbers, you can easily understand what are the main categories and what are the subcategories, what are the components of that subcategories. Basic category is management purposes and the second one is informative purposes. Under the management purposes, again there are two: administrative purposes and development purposes. The 1.1 administrative purposes. Same question. What do you mean by administrative purposes? Administrative means manage and be responsible. If you are responsible, something you have been managing, if you were responsible, I ask why that entity is failed. If you were the administrator or if you were the manager, you are responsible to give the reasons. That is administrative. Then the administrative purposes means, what do you mean by administrative purposes? This means that performance evaluation provides a set of information needed to perform successfully by many functions leading to management of employees. Administrative purposes is PE is performance evaluation and management is done for what? To get the information needed to perform successfully many functions leading to the management of employees. If someone is doing performance evaluation and management because of to collect information needed to perform their functions leading to managing their employees. Then the second question, what are the administrative purposes? What are the administrative purposes? Under the administrative purposes, there are 8. I numbered all these 8. 1.1.1. What is the main category? It means the meaning of first one, the management purposes. The second, in my number, 1.1 mean administrative purposes. 1.1.1 mean the first administrative purpose. There are 8 administrative purpose I mentioned in this slide. I move to the next few slides to further discuss about what are the administrative purposes. The first administrative purpose is human power planning. Human power planning. HR planning. Human resource planning or human power planning, same idea. What type of information is needed to perform human power planning successfully? Under the human power planning, there are several steps followed by the managers. The first one, in their human power planning process, the forecast future demand for human resources. How manager can forecast demand for future, forecast demand for the human resources. Assume that we are in organization. Now we have 10 employees. The average production per day is for one employee is 10. Then we need to produce 100 products for tomorrow. How we forecast our demand for human resources for the tomorrow production? If we need 200 products, if we need to produce 100 products, we need 10 people. How you decide that demand? By using existing performance data. For that, we are using performance evaluation data. The second step is also use the performance evaluation data. The second step of the performance human power planning process is estimating human supply, HR supply. Under the estimating HR supply involves auditing current human resources, which means assessing characteristics of current employees so as to develop true inventories. Under the estimating, there are several steps. Under the HR supply estimation, estimating human resource supply, we need to assess characteristics of current employees, and then we develop two inventories for two types of employees One thing is skill inventory for non-managerial employees, characteristics, and then we put the characteristics of managerial employees information. We develop management inventories. These are the catalogs, competence of each existing employees. To develop these inventories, performance evaluation information is needed. Without performance evaluation information, we cannot develop the skill inventories for the existing employees. We cannot develop the management inventories for the existing employees. That performance evaluation is needed for the human power plant. 1.1.2, admin, the second administrative purpose is the selection. You already know about the selection as the HRM function. To select right people at the right time to do the right job. How we select the right people? We can use the several methods of selection we can use. As example, interviews, exam, referees, internal referees and external referees. Likewise, we can select by using interviews, by conducting examinations. Basically, we can select the employees. Now we have employees in our organization. We can get our organization currently practicing. There are two main selection methods. The first one is interviews. The second one is by conducting examination as the selection method. Based on these two selection methods, we can categorize our employees into two groups. Those who are selected from the interviews, those who are selected from the examinations. Then, for the effective and efficient selection, the method used selecting people should be validated, and for validation purpose, it is necessary to evaluate how well employees are performing the jobs. Now we have two groups of employees. Group one is who are selecting from the interviews. The second group, those who are selected from the selection examination. Now, after 1 year or 2 years, we can evaluate their performance. Both these two groups of employees. Then we can compare these two groups of performance of these two groups of employees. When we comparing these two, we can identify the performance is high. Those who are selected from the interviews compared with the performance of employees, those who are selected from the examination. Then what you can suggest? It is success to continue interview as the selection method, but examinations we cannot guarantee for the better performance. That it means the interviews are valid, but examinations we cannot guarantee for the validity. For that, we can use the performance of existing employees. For the selection, that information is used basically for the validation of selection methods. Then the third administrative purpose of the performance evaluation and management is hiring. Very important. Performance evaluation information is needed in two ways at the hiring time. The first one, okay, at the hiring, how performance evaluation information is needed. Basically, there are two ways at the hiring time. Performance evaluation information is needed. When preparing the letter of appointment is the main requirement when hiring the people, that it is essential to notify expected performance standards, levels of performance, and for that, performance criteria and standards are very important at the hiring time to prepare the letter of appointment. The first way why performance evaluation information is needed at the hiring time, the two times. First is to prepare the letter of appointment. When we prepare the letter of appointment, we should include the performance standards, expected performance standards, and the performance criteria and standards to the letter of appointment. For these purposes, we need performance evaluation data, information at the hiring time. The second thing, at the hiring, generally when an employee is hired for the permanent job, he or she has to spend a certain period of time, what is called the probationary period. Sinhala paribasa kalaya. For that, during that time period, employer can decide this employee is performing well or not. On the other hand, employees also can decide this job is matched with my requirement or not. There are three basic decisions at the that will have be taken regarding this period of any employee. At the end of the probationary period, management need to take decision. Basically, they have three options. Based on these, all three options are out of these three options, the management can decide any one. This decision is highly based on the performance during the probationary period. The first option, extending the period for another point of time, is one option. It means if we hired for the permanent position, but we test that employee for the other time period, that's called probationary time period. During that probationary time period, after the probationary time period, we evaluate their performance. Then now management have information regarding the performance of probationary employees. Then if that performance levels are not satisfied, but the management believe that they can develop this employee, then they can extend the probationary time period for another point of time. Sometimes it may be another 6 months or 1 year, 2 years, likewise. The second type of probationary employee is terminating the period and giving the confirmation status. At the end of the probationary time period, management evaluate their performance. Then the management satisfied about their performance. Then the management can confirm that employee to the permanent position. The third type of employees, their performance levels are not being satisfied, as well as the management believe that the employee cannot develop by using another time period. Then the management can terminate or dismiss the probationary employee by stopping the period. These all decisions are taken based on the performance of employee during the probationary period. Without this information, management cannot take the correct decision. So that the hiring time, performance evaluation information is required. The fourth one, for administrative purpose, is rewards management. By reviewing the performance of employees, we can categorize basically two groups of employees. These two groups are well performers and poor performers. Well performers mean the employee, those who are achieve the expected level of performance. Poor performance, they cannot achieve the performance targets of the employee. Performance information is required at the reward management. Basically, they are basic pay, incentives, and the pay management. It is very important. Data is provided by the performance evaluation. Pay information is essential to make rewards, wages, salaries, incentives, decisions. Examples: should pay increments to be paid to the employees at the end of the certain period of time. Increment means the pay. I think you still not studied the rewards management. Is in your next year subject. Pay increment means amount of increase the salary. Sometimes maybe basic salary. How? At the example, annual increment. At the end of the year, the performance evaluation is done. They have the performance evaluation data. Then they can decide which amount to increase their basic salary. That is the increment. Based on the performance, the most of the employers or managers take this decision based on the employee's performance. The second one is if increment is paid, it means those who are well performers, how much should be paid. At the reward management, you may learn the equity principle. Equity principle, the basic idea of equity principle means equal pay for equal jobs, unequal pay for unequal jobs. But inequality of pay should be equal to the inequality of the jobs. For that, the job environment and how much they produce, the way they use to produce that production, those factors should be considered, how much they should produce. As example, if some employees are working under the hazardous environment, risky environment, for that we should pay some additional allowances. It is called incentives. Third one, should performance incentives be paid? It means the incentives is another component of another type of pay. The incentives mean the things that motivate or encourage their performance. As example, performance incentives. If we are doing the performance evaluation, we can identify who are the well performers. Then, based on their high performance, we should pay some additional amount for the well performance compared with the poor performance. Then, the fifth one is management of promotions. If some employees continuously recorded their well performance, then they are suitable for the next position. Basically, under the employee movement, the management of promotions, generally promotions are given on two categories, criteria. These two criteria are seniority and merit. Seniority means the length of time period. Some organizations use how many time, how long the employee is working with our organization. Based on that time period, the organization will provide the promotion opportunity. Another base is merit. They will not consider how long they are continually committed to the organization, but their performance. Sometimes that employee may work the short period, joined recently, but their performance is high. Based on the performance, the organization will decide the promotion opportunities. It is called merit-based promotion. Merit refers the degree of efficiency and effectiveness of the employee. How we can determine the degree of efficiency and effectiveness of the employee? We only can use the performance evaluation data. That's why performance evaluation information is needed to decide the merit-based promotion decisions. The sixth one, administrative of transfers. I categorize employees based on the performance, well performers and poor performers. Sometimes the poor performers, we can categorize into two groups. Poor performance we can categorize again into two groups. Why this person is with the poor performance? We can identify the reason with the job. Then, but it means this person is poorly perform this job, but they can perform successfully in other jobs. It means the errors or factors with the job. If we move to that person to another job, that poor performance will not be continued. There may be employees who cannot perform task, duties and responsibilities of the current job successfully, but that employee can perform another job rather than the current. The information is required to identify this performance problem. Then that's why the PE information is needed to administration of transfers. The seventh one, discipline administration. Then we categorize well performers and poor performance. Under the poor performance, we again categorize into two, the reasons with the job. Why employees are poor performers, the reasons with the job. Another type of employees, they are poor performers, but the reasons with the employee. Then we can identify, we can train, or sometimes their malbehaviors are may be affected for the poor performance. Then we should observe their behaviors. Then we can identify the disciplinary violations. That's why their performance are being poor. When an employee violates the certain rules, he or she should be punished through a disciplinary action. If it is serious action, serious violation, we should consider. If it is minor offense, we should punish another way. Then determine the degree of severity of the disciplinary actions. Performance evaluation information is needed. When we are collecting performance evaluation information, we are considering their traits, behaviors, and results. It means under the performance evaluation, we are considering their behaviors as well. The performance history of punishable employee is normally considered when deciding the punishment. The last administrative purpose is management of labor relations. Labor management relationships. These often leads to the conflict between managers and workers. Sometimes the employees are working well, but the managers or superior collected evidence as they are poor performance. It means the performance is evaluated. It is not a fair way or accurate evaluation. Then the employees committed to the organization, but the management identify their poor performance. Then the employee will demotivate and but if on the other hand, if employee is also working well, the management evaluate their performance as they are well performance. Then they are giving their recognition and they are rewarding on them. Likewise, this it is good labor management relationship. There is a good labor management relationship, proper labor management relationship. If there is no evaluation errors, inadequate feedback, or unfair promotions, layoffs, and transfers, likewise, there may be reasons for proper labor management relationship. But if there is a evaluation errors, inadequate feedback, unfair promotions, layoff, and transfers, inequitable distribution of rewards, Likewise, that may be reasons for the poor labor management relationship. There may be reasons for conflict between managers and employees. The above mentioned decisions are appropriately made through the use of performance evaluation information of relevant employees. Also, performance evaluation plays a significant role in deciding the hire temporary casual employees into the permanent staff. We discussed at the hiring time as well. It is very important at the continuity of the labor management relationship as well. Performance evaluation is an important factor that contributes to the labor management relationship significantly. Then we move to the 1.2. We already completed 1.1. It means administrative purposes. Under the administrative purposes, there are 8. We discussed all the administrative purposes is directly linked with the HRM functions. But in here, 1.2, development purposes. What do you mean by development purposes? The performance evaluation information means that performance evaluation is useful for institutional and employee development, organizational development, as well as the employee development. What are the development purposes? There are 4 development purposes in here: training, the 2.2, 1.2.1 training, 1.2.2 success of training programs can be evaluated through the performance evaluation. The third one, proper direction, and the last one is better productivity. The training. How performance evaluation is contribute to the development of employees and the institutional development via the training. Performance evaluation information is needed to identify the training need. Training needs can be identified by comparing 2 main things. It means what we are expecting from the employees and what they actually produce for the organization. When we compare these 2 components, we can identify if there is a negative gap. It means we expect 100 products per day, but actually the employee is producing only 80 products. It means 20 gaps. Why? We are further investigate about why employees are actually producing less than what we expect. The reasons is lack of knowledge, skills, and attitudes. These performance deficiencies are mostly training needs of the employee. Lack of this gap due to the lack of knowledge, skills, and attitudes of the employee. It is essential to identify training needs of employee before developing a training program. Before developing a training program, we need to identify what type of skills they require. If we have the performance evaluation data, we only can identify which type of knowledge, skills, and attitudes needed for this type of poor performance. Then that is why we are the training performance evaluation information is contribute to the employee development as well as the organizational development. The second thing is success of training programs. And here we conduct training programs for the employee. As example, we conduct some production training programs for 10 employees But before conducting these production training programs, we evaluate their performance. Before participating the training programs, we evaluate their performance. Then we identify their level of performance and their characteristics. Then they participate to the training programs. Then they move to the normal working conditions, working environment. Then they're performing their jobs. After some certain time period, we again evaluate their job performance. Now, their performance are increased compared with the previous evaluation. When we assume that another factors are not being changed during that time period, the only thing affected is the training program. Now, the performance is high than the before the training programs. What may be affected for that enhancement of the performance is training programs. Now you can decide that training programs, production training programs, is successful or fail. How you determine this production training program is success based on the performance evaluation data. One way of determining the success of training programs is through the assessment of job behaviors and results of an employee before and after training. It's called pre-post evaluation. Pre-post evaluation. Before the training programs, we conduct evaluation, as well as after the training programs, we also again conduct the training program. Then the third one is proper direction. Proper direction. The top managers can use the performance evaluation information to review their past decision. Top managers can use the performance evaluation information to review their past decisions. As example, there is a production company. They are previously using the production line method. Then the top management decide that production settings shift into the team-wise production. There are 4 lines. Then they move to the production groups. Now, it is possible for superior to obtain information through the which is useful for guiding and advising subordinates. Then, after she moved to the production teams, before moving to the production teams, they can gather performance evaluation information. When the top manager compare this performance information, the management can review their decisions. The decision is what? The management decided to move from line method to team method. Previously, they were used the production line. Now they are using the production teams. When they will compare their the two different types, performance of two different types, they can identify what method is effective. Then they can preview, and if the team method is correct decision, they can continue that decision. If but the after moving to the team method, their production will if the production is decreased, they can rethink about their decision. Then in future they can again move to the right decision, right direction. Likewise, that can be used for the performance evaluation information. It can be used for the direction. Last one is better productivity. Information is increased mutuality between the each subordinate and superior. Performance evaluation in some methods we will discuss in your next few chapters. What are the methods you can use to evaluate performance of the employees? Under some methods, there are several methods like 360 method. Each and every employee evaluated by their superior as well as the subordinate. Then there is a time to give feedback about their superior, as well as the superior have time to give feedback to the subordinate as usual. Then these two parties are interrelated. Therefore, these both parties are mutually try to increase their performance. Performance evaluation reduce performance employees' anxiety as they know how they are performing. The anxiety means a feeling of worry about something with an uncertainty outcomes. But if there is a formal or proper performance evaluation, employees is also aware about their performance. Then they are not with the uncertainty of the performance, then they don't be worried about the uncertainty. Therefore, this anxiety, there is no anxiety that may be helpful to the better productivity. But if there is no better feedback, good feedback system, it will be reasons for the anxiety. That reasons, it means the worry. Employees are worried about their uncertainty. Then that will affect to the less productivity. Then when systematic, regular, and corrective feedback on performance is due to the employees, their productivity enhanced. Objective and fair performance evaluation helps to motivate of employees towards the increased individual performance and potential advancement of the in the organization. It means there are both parties can mutually develop. That's why these all are development purposes. Now we move to the main two second purposes. It is informative purposes. Informative purposes. Performance in also in here also we ask two questions. What do you mean by informative purposes? Informative purposes mean the performance evaluation information or performance evaluation is communication to the employee. It deals with the upward and downward communication, facilitating human performance improvements. Informative purposes as the communication channel, the performance evaluation contribute to the enhancement of the performance. Performance evaluation is contributed to the performance enhancement or improvement via the communication channel. It may be downward communication or upward communication. Then the second question, what are the informative purposes? There are several informative purposes. The first one, employee will be able to know what the organization expects from his or her and what he or she can expect from the organization. It means the two-way communication, top to bottom, bottom to up. Organizations, what organization expect from me. Then, on the other hand, what can be expected from the organization. It is the first informative purpose. The second one, performance evaluation lets the employee know what aspects of his or her work performance his or her superior prescribes to be improved. Mean superiors as in the first informative purpose, as a whole organization, there is a two-way expectations. Both parties are aware about the two their expectations. Then other party expectations. In here, the superior and employee is also know what aspects of his or her work performance superior prescribes to be improved. Then employee can aware about what are the factors, what are the areas we improved by their superior, because the superior is doing or evaluating their performance. The superior is aware about the performance deficiencies. Then the superior can advise to the employee. The third one, performance evaluation informs that the performance of the employee is being appreciated. Performance evaluation information that the performance of employee is being appreciated. It means if there is a proper performance evaluation, it's informed, give the feedback to the employee to be how they can improve, appreciate. The fourth one, performance evaluation gives recognition on the employee for excellent performance. By using performance evaluation, they can identify build performance, then they can recognize their high performance, then that will affect for the excellent performance, mean employee development. The next one, performance evaluation is help each employee to perform his or her current job more efficiently and effectively, because there is a evaluation and that evaluation work as set the goals and work as the good feedback system that may be helpful to efficient and effective performance. Then the next one, performance evaluation generates a sense of discipline of planning and controlling job performance within the employee, which results in subsequent development efforts. Then it means the employee can develop the discipline of planning and controlling their performance. If the organization use the organizational wise performance evaluation, the automatically employee will motivate to conduct, to evaluate themselves, their performance. Next one, performance evaluation is a way of helping the employees to get prepared for future promotions, because PE informs these are the strengths and these are the weaknesses of you. Then the employees are aware about their strengths and weaknesses. The employees can shaping their strength and weaknesses. They can prepare for the promotions. Then the next one, performance evaluation will enhance the employee to develop role clarity continuously and consequently to do the right things, attending effectiveness. The performance evaluation is not only is not only attempt to evaluate what they are results, so but they are considering about how they are achieving. Then it is develop the role clarity. It means what they should do. It is clearly mentioned, and what they should not do in their job. Due to that clarity, employee will develop. It is all about the purposes of performance evaluation. Up to this point, we discussed all the purposes into two groups. Mainly, we categorize into two groups: management purposes and informative purposes. Under the management purposes, we again categorize into two groups: administrative purposes and development purposes. Under the administrative purposes, there are 8 administrative purposes we will discuss. In the development, under the development purposes, there are 4 development purposes we discuss. Then the second main category of performance purposes of performance evaluation is informative purposes. Under the informative purposes, there are 8 informative purposes we will discuss. I think it is clear to you. These are the main 2 questions you can use as the review questions. It is all about, these are my references, and thank you very much.